Exhausting.
I'd like to welcome everybody to the November 24th regular board meeting of Marlborough Township Board of Education. Cindy, please call the roll.
Good evening, everyone. Mrs. Dean? Here. Mrs. Ennie? Here. Mrs. Cow?
Yes,
Welcome back.
thank you.
Mrs. Lou Riddell?
I'm here.
Mr. Marshall?
Here.
Mrs. Matos?
Here.
Mrs. Rosenwald?
Here.
Mrs. Wolf?
Yes.
And Mr. Lalonsky.
Here. Please be advised this meeting is being held in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975, the Sunshine Law. Adequate notice of date, time, and agenda is sent to the Asbury Park Press and news transcript. It's also been posted and filed with the Marlborough Township Clerk. Copies have also been sent to each district school and other area newspapers in accordance with the law. Draw your attention to, but I'm not going to read in its entirety, statement of videotaping a public portion of Board of Education meetings, our public session statement, as well as no smoking on school grounds statement. Everybody please rise and join me for the pledge. Thank you. Sir, artwork.
Okay, artwork. So the artwork in the hallway, in the front hallway, is courtesy of Janina West, 6th grade art class at Memorial, and it's all about Victorian houses, which is incredible. And in here, we have the artwork courtesy of the Robertsville Elementary School champion students. So we're all treed up here.
Excellent. Announcements.
Okay. So the one announcement we have is all about Shruti Kedharnoth. She was a 7th grade student at Memorial who won an amazing summer essay, and it was the Charles Lafitte Foundation for Kids Corner Essay Summer Contest of 2015. She won a Kindle Fire, she won a booklight, a backpack, and because of her, Memorial is going to have a $1,000 donation to the library, which is absolutely
Great
incredible.
Nice.
Absolutely. So I wrote, just so you know, I wrote Shruti a letter that she'll get probably tomorrow morning. You know, it's just congratulating her on being just an incredible human being and telling her that we expect great things, and we've already seen great things, so she's got a little more to come. That aren't on here, just real quickly, I just want to draw attention to later on and thank our educational foundation, and we have members here today, thank you so much, who are going to donate almost $30,000 or $25,000 to our district, which is just incredible. So to everyone who helps with the foundation, thank you very much. You make our district an incredible place. And then last but not least, on here, and it's agenda item, I believe, number 6, I want to thank Dugan's PTA because they're going to put in a full-color digital sign for the school to the tune of $22,000. So we really had some great things. Actually, I had 2 more real quick ones. Sorry, I know. Hands to Dugan's PTA. Good stuff.
I love Dugan.
I want to. You know, if you don't know who Mr. Straddick is the principal of Robertsville who replaced Mr. Schifrinson. He had very big shoes to fill, and he made a bet with his school where if they raised, I believe it was $15,000, he would shave a big R in the back of his head.
And he did.
So Mr. Straddick is now walking around with a big R in the back of his head, and it was the coolest thing today because I saw him for a training after school, and he told me that there was a 1st grader today that came in with a big R. I'm like, I need a picture. So there's multiple R's running around Robertsville. And last but certainly not least, you don't have information on this, but we received our efficiency rating for transportation. We were tied for 3rd in the county. That means that essentially we had the most efficient routes in the county as a K-8. The other 2 that were ahead of us were high school districts. That's a nice thing to be proud of.
Very good.
Done, sir.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to announce again that Tara Gosevich, DMD, is our district's Emerald Level sponsor for the 2015-2016 school year. We thank her very much for that. Mrs. Baragou.
Yes, as we do every month, we run abstracts on our drivers and buildings and grounds personnel, and their abstracts are clean, and they all have driving privileges in good standing.
Thank you, ma'am. Any further communications, sir?
No, sir.
Everybody received a copy of the superintendent?
Yes, Mike.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mrs. Ennie.
Hang on. It was brought to my attention that in the news transcript, they stated that we were going out, or we were approving tonight a resolution for a special election for March of this year, and that is incorrect. The special election date is January 26th, 2016, and people were offended because they felt that we were waiting till people left, that the snowbirds were waiting to go away, and that is totally incorrect.
Incorrect.
And I certainly hope that we can have that corrected ASAP.
I can reach
Thank you,
out
Derek.
depending upon this. Sure.
Thank you.
You heard it.
Okay. Everybody received a copy of the superintendent's report, including harassment, intimidation, bullying, HIB report, October 15th, 2015 to November 18th, 2015, in 2 instances. Anybody, any questions on those? Meeting dates coming up. We'll have Tuesday, December 1st, workshop and executive, and Tuesday, December 22nd, our regular executive. Current enrollment statistics are 5,088 students, which is 81 less than the same time last year. Bring us to page 4, approval of minutes resolution. Daria, my reading, please.
Be it resolved that the minutes of the following meetings be approved as submitted. October 6, 2015, workshop and executive. October 20th, 2015, regular and executive. I so move.
Thank you, Dara. Seconded by Robin. Any discussion on the minutes? Seeing none, Cindy, please call the roll.
Mrs. Dean?
Yes.
Mrs. Cow?
Yes to the October 6th, abstain for the 20th.
You're on the suit. Mrs. Lou Riddell?
Yes.
Mr. Marshall?
Yes.
Mrs. Matos?
Yes.
Mrs. Rosenwald?
Yes on October 6th, no on October, abstain on October 20th.
Mrs. Wolf?
Yes.
Mrs. Ennie?
Yes.
Mr. Lelunski?
Yes. Everybody received a copy of the Secretary of Business Administrator's report, including the payroll certification and investment report. Do we have any questions on those items? Okay, seeing none, that'll bring us to public session. Cindy will have the cards again. I have the cards here as well this week. This way I know people tend to look straight, and I realized they weren't seeing Cindy held up the yellow card and the red card. So as Cindy holds them up, I'll do my best to hold them up as well. Each person has 5 minutes. We have 60 minutes allowed to public session. We do our best to answer all questions at the end of public session that we can. And Cindy, you have a clipboard with names?
Yep. Bonnie Gabazon. Oh, let me. No, we're not. There you go.
On to Harvest Court. Hello. I wanted to talk about some things that have gone on with PARC, high-stakes testing at the state level. Now that we're getting some information about PARC and the numbers have come in, although the state hasn't put an official number on refusals, doing the math in terms of how many students were eligible to take the test and how many students actually did take the test, it looks like a good estimate of how many refusals there were statewide were about 125,000, totaling about 15% statewide, much, much higher than HESP's anticipation of less than 0.1%. So clearly, parents across the state are refusing. In other news, Christie also signed 2 bills regarding high-stakes testing. He signed a bill that said that there will be no withholding of state funds based on high refusal numbers in districts. And he signed another bill that says there will be no standardized testing other than diagnostic testing in grade, in grades K to 2, both significant. Based on the direction of PARC and seeing that there are now about 5 states and Washington, D.C. are the only 5 states still using PARC, and if it was supposed to be any measure of how kids are doing nationally, that is null and void, because if you're comparing against 4 other states, it really is useless. So based on that, I think that we can expect this year at least the same number of refusals that we had last year, hopefully more. And I would like to suggest that any communication that goes out to parents in regards to PARC testing as to when the dates are and the logistics of it being given. I think it's only fair to include information for parents that are refusing, just in terms of how they need to communicate their refusals and what the logistics of those refusals will be in terms of when the test is being given. It's clear that, and as well, the state also put a memo out to districts as to how to handle refusals and that they need to be handled non-punitively, which we've always done, but now that it's a state memo and all of this is now being somewhat validated, I see no reason why we can't include information to parents about logistics and refusing in the other information that goes out to parents in regard to PARC. And then I had something separate that I had a question about, unrelated. This is related to Chromebooks. So last year we purchased Chromebooks for the middle school. All students, one-to-one, each have their own Chromebooks. My question is what was the need for purchasing 15 desktop Chromebooks for the library, for the media center, if students are already traveling with their own? And I'd be curious as to what that cost and everything else that we consider spending on. You rate with a scale of based on need, and I'm just wondering where the need came for 15 desktop Chromebooks in the library if students are already traveling with their own. I spoke to Ms. Kalanovich in Marlboro Middle, and she was able to give me some information. Basically, they're not being used for anything different than the actual Chromebooks can do. In fact, they do less. If kids need to print something, they can't even print from those desktop ones, and they're using the old computers to print from. She did mention that they're used as a charging station for kids who might not have charged it at home, but that's a situation that was created based on the fact that kids are taking them home, so it's a situation that wasn't there before, but now. So if they're only being used as, charging stations and nothing above and beyond what actual Chromebooks are being used for, I would like to know what the need was for them and how much they cost. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think so. You mean desktop computers, Spawn, and not Chromebooks?
You could find desktop Chromebooks. You meant desktop computers?
From what the desktop computers in the library, but I think they're Chrome boxes, they're called. They're similar to the Chromebooks,
Yep.
but they're desktop versions.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Sarah Chrysler?
Hi, Sarah Chrysler, 1103 Roseberry Court. I'm going to be very quick tonight. I just have a couple questions. In regards to the new election, how much is the election going to cost us? To run the election, to promote the election, get the word out, print materials that we're going to provide like we did last time for the referendum. And I'm really curious as to why we're not using an online survey tool like they did in Manalapan to talk about plans that they had in the future. We have Genesis, we have all these family emails. Maybe that could be a thought that we could do that before we go ahead and do another special election when the referendum failed 4-1. Are there any plans in terms of the kindergarten? I just see that was cut from the new question, so I'm just curious what the plans moving forward are for kindergarten. Also, I'm curious about Linkit and the money that we're spending on Linkit. I understand that we're using it as a testing tool for CAs and CPTs, and I want to know what the benefit of it is, if we're using it because it's easier for grading. If that is the benefit of Linkit, or if there's not something else, I want to know if eventually we're planning on moving all of our testing, not just CAs and CPTs, to Linkit. Thanks.
Thank you. Oh.
I'll be quick too. Good evening, everybody. I'm not going to repeat what Bonnie said.
Name and address, please.
I have to think about that one. Amy First Tolan. It's been a while. 7 Jefferson Road. Start over? My 3 minutes starts now, right?
Your 5 minutes starts
My
now.
5 minutes starts
We
now,
added
right?
2 minutes just for you.
Okay, got it. No problem. So just in light of all the changes, with Park, the fact that more states have dropped it, Massachusetts just dropped it, was the last one, there's 6 left. I just want this year to be a little bit better than last year. Let's learn from what happened last year. And I think that it would really help everybody to have a written policy. Most townships do. I have one from about 15 with me that I can show you. I did ask for one last year, but there was much confusion, much frustration. People didn't know how to refuse. They didn't know who to refuse to. They didn't know what their kids were going to be doing. Are they going to be in the room, out of the room? There were so many questions, and they were fielded to parents who, people felt were in the know, and I have no problem helping anybody, but there was a lot of confusion. Let's get that written policy. Just tell parents what they need to do. They need to send a letter. Who do they need to send it to? There's going to be no disciplinary action. This is what your kids are going to be doing. And, I didn't complain last year for Park. I felt that the conditions, just for my own child, that's all I could speak from. But a lot of parents did come to meetings and say their kids sat on stools for, 4 or 5 hours, and they were complaining. And so I'm just hoping that maybe we can learn from those mistakes and maybe be a little bit more transparent with this. And, also like Ms. Gabizon said, just make it clear if anything is going to be sent out regarding Park, if you can also address, the students that aren't, because they're part of it. And it's very important to know where they will be, what they will be doing. And I think that'll help a lot of the frustration and the confusion about that. I wanted to just say something about the Chromebooks. And again, I can only speak for my son, but in this case, also his friends, in regard to the Chromebooks. They love it. They love carrying it back and forth. They love that it's one item. They get on. They go straight to their work. It's right there. It's a minute. They don't have to go on the lap. And my son spends, I don't know, such a fraction of that time now on his MacBook, which is so much better than the Chromebook, but he's not on it. And it's taking him a little bit shorter time to do his homework, too. So it's great. He loves it. We're happy with it. And the communication back and forth with the teachers on it also. That can go up to 8 o'clock at night, 9 o'clock at night. And also you can send emails to these teachers. And their hours don't end. It could be 9 o'clock at night, and maybe I shouldn't be, whatever. But it could be 9 o'clock at night, and my son is doing his homework. He's confused about something. Or did we have to do something? The teacher was confusing. He gets an answer at 9:20. So that's, I don't know. So the Chromebooks, I think, are great. The teachers are, very communicative, very helpful. And I wanted to just also ask just a question about supplemental. I don't know much about it. I really do think that it's great to assess the students. Are they grasping the material? Are they not? But more so, who is and who's not? You have this great tool now. You're going to assess the children. It's unannounced, but yet you do see, based on grades, obviously, who's grasping it better, who's not. But the only thing that's being done at that point is the grade is being put into their grade book. If you're already doing that step, take one more step and have the teacher separate those kids, perhaps, that aren't grasping as quickly as the others. I understand also that there's different percentiles in regard to subjects. Supplemental percentage in math can be 10%. It can count for criteria, to be clear, for 10%. And then in English, it could be 15%. I don't understand why somebody can just, I'm sure it's very simple. And I wanted to know if, I know it's also tough for the teachers who learned about supplemental literally on the first, day of school. They didn't seem really clear as to what will be supplemental, but if I look at something like a graphic organizer that my son is working on and the teacher grades that as a supplemental, that's just his notes. Or a first draft of an essay, that paragraph that they didn't know was going to be graded, maybe they would have, it's still a first draft, whether they would have tried harder or not. I do have a question. I'd like just an answer about absences. If you have a doctor's note submitted every time your child is out, is that an excused absence? Do you still send out that 5-day phone call to that parent who submitted the doctor's notes every single time the child was out? It was valid. And also just to parents who do watch these, just be careful. Look at the parent portal with kids in 8th grade. Peer-to-peer days are sometimes marked as an unexcused absence or an excused absence, so just make sure that that's
I need you to finish up.
not happening. Can I just say one more thing? It's really quick. It's
You
really
can't.
quick.
Nobody wants to do one more thing.
Did you say yes?
No.
Are you saying yes? And
No, I can't. You can't. You can do it later.
all right, address common assessments.
Okay.
Address why they're still counting so much in the criteria.
I said
Put your name
no.
back
Come
on.
on.
Go back, put your name back on. After the next one.
Next person, Santa Pisanello.
Yeah. Why can't you?
Hi, my name is Santa Pisaniello. I've been working in district 15 years. This is my first time that I be in front of this panel. In September 29th meeting, some of you attacked my boss. We have 5,088 students. I'm talking about the transportation department. Okay? And I saw the video and some of you attacked them. And I don't see anybody, any parent complaining that the kids never went to school, that we never picked them up, that we threw them in bed. Okay? I think so. Some of you won't apologize to them. I don't think it's fair because I wish somebody can be sitting in that room when 15 drivers did not show up, they call sick, and they have to, have people running around. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else in the public wish to address? Well, let me see if anybody else wants to talk the first time. Anyone else in the public wants to address the board on any item? Okay. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Just quickly regarding the common assessments. So it was part of the criteria last year for high classes, for honors classes. It also counted as a test. So I know that you did some investigation, and after parents complaining and teachers complaining about the common assessments, you brought it down to 10%. And the reason was because there were times where the criteria that was on the test was not yet taught, and it was happening more often than not, and children were doing much better on the teacher's tests. After you looked into it, you decided to scale it back from 100% counting as a test to now 10% of their score. However, you're using those common assessment grades, unless I'm wrong, I don't know, to place the children, which those criteria, those are really important. We lay the law down based on it. That's where we place them, and it's a big deal. And I don't know if it's something that, turned out to now be 10% important. I don't think that it makes any sense to count it as part of the criteria. And again, if I'm wrong, I'm sorry. I'll bring up testing. I'm just confused that, kids, they're on a team and they'll have the same teachers. So these teachers are communicating, but yet there are times when there's 3 tests given in one day, and then the next day there could be 2 tests, and the next day there could be 1. And in social studies, they could have a common assessment and then a test within 2 days covering the same material, but it's in the same week. It's happening more and more often now. I know that the teachers do have to stay with those pacing guides. They do have to get those tests in that they're being told to get into that marking period. I understand that. But I think that that is so excessive, administering 3 exams and then 2 the next day. I just think it's really hard. It's hard for them. And it's not just happening in cross-quadding. Because I looked into that too. I thought that maybe it was happening because it was being missed. It's cross-quadded and they don't talk to each other, but that's not the truth. And I think I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I asked you about absences, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Doctor's note. Okay, I'm good.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Good to go.
Okay.
Good to go? Okay. First thing, I want to apologize. Vic, you brought me the whole Chromebox thing, and I think I was trying to do 16 things at once, and I didn't get back to you. So, Bon, I have to dig into why we went with Chromeboxes, unless Mr. Ballone. Do you have any thought process in why we did Chrome boxes versus? Yeah. So I'm going to put it down right now, and I will give you a phone call and let you know why. I know in that moment, I went back to my email strand, and I did push it to Pat, and I also pushed it to Tom Ennie, and I asked about printing, because I think that's how the genesis of this came to me. In order to print, they simply have to go on one of the desktop computers, and they have to simply open up their Google Doc, and they can print from there. But let me specifically find out why we went with those models, and then I'll be able to give you an informed answer. Yep. I don't know how much the Chrome box. I know it links Chrome. I don't want to suppose. I'll come back to you with an exact answer. Is that fair enough? Okay. Your refusal data. Yep. You're right on the money. 100%. 125,000. About 15% across the state. People are absolutely saying that they want to refuse. Governor Christie did sign into law the two concepts of not withholding state funds and then no testing grades K through 2, which I think is a great thing. Only diagnostics. I think that our youngest learners should not be put through that. And then to your point of having 5 states is not as effective as the concept that was presented. I will agree with you. I think that it was presented that Park states you'd have the same uniform type of assessment. You don't necessarily have that now. You still have the Common Core, and for right now, we're still united under the Common Core, but the Park states are definitely dwindling, and for me not to acknowledge that would be silly. It's a fact. You suggested that you would like us to supply information about how to refuse. I'll be happy to do that this year. I will include in there, just so you know, my encouragement for parents to take the test. Parents can still make whatever choice they want. We did receive written guidelines for the first time, because last year they didn't give it to us, about what it should and should not look like. They took a little more of a stand than they did last year. But I will be happy so that to let parents and guardians and community members know how to refuse and what will happen. And we will do everything, Ms. Tolan, to keep kids off of hard stools, 100%. I'm not being sarcastic. I'm sure it did hurt. It hurts a tush. It's not fun. We did. We had people in the cafeteria at some.
On the little cafeteria.
Yeah, and they are little stools. They weren't wooden. They're plastic. But point is noted. What we do have to do, unfortunately, and I need you just to kind of understand this, is that when you have a testing window, especially where you have kids, it's hard enough to test with every kid testing. So now we're not only just testing with every kid. It's not just that. It's people are, people aren't. We have different sections of rooms that have to be together. Mm-hmm. So it's very difficult. It's really all hands on deck, and we're lucky not to test on the roof. Don't listen, Sin. It really is what it comes down to. And principals put a lot of hard work into the designation of areas, but we will try to be mindful of the stools, 100%. Okay? The second one was the Chromebooks. Why in the library? I will respond back to you. I'm going to write myself a note for my parking lot right now so I don't forget. Chromeboxes to Bonnie, Eric. Okay, and then up to Sarah.
Can you acknowledge that she said Chromebooks? Kids are loving them.
Kids what?
The kids love the Chromebooks.
Oh, I think it's fantastic. Well, I didn't get to Amy yet.
Oh, you mentioned her.
Yeah, I kind of jumped to the stools. You're right, but I'll come back to it. I'll be happy to.
On the stools.
I did. Sarah, how much is it going to cost, Sin? What's the overall? Do we not have a ballpark?
Probably between $25,000 and $30,000, but don't know yet because I don't know who is going with us in the election. If somebody else is having another school district will be participating in it, so I don't know. I don't know yet. So right now, I know to run the ad, it's going to cost us not quite $2,100. The mandatory ad that has to be run. But other than that, I don't know yet. I'm estimating between $25,000 and $30,000.
And if the board so chose to do print materials again, if we did the same type of thing, what was the realm of that again?
Off the top of my head, I don't know.
Okay.
I can look before the evening's over and say, but off the top of my head, I don't know.
And if Sarah's not here, can you email Sarah?
Yes.
Please.
I was looking for you and couldn't see you.
As far as the online tool, I don't know what they used, but we struggle with online tools for one reason and one reason only. We can't reach like the township. Nixle can hit everybody. We only hit people that are in our buildings. So in doing a survey of just we have here, in a lot of ways, it's not indicative of a representative sample because we don't have the ability of going outside of that. I don't have that ability. But I'd be happy to reach out to John to figure out what online survey tool he used because I'm friendly with John. He emailed me today. I'll be happy to email him as well. Let me just take care of that so I remember. Okay. Going back down to your questions, plans for K. So with the referendum going down by such a margin, really means that we have to go back to the drawing board. When you look at our drawing board, really, I had to look differently at different types of rooms that exist. We have computer rooms right now, being that we all do have a one-to-one device that we can sacrifice. So we are in the midst of seeing how many rooms we can acquire out of those computer rooms, figuring out what that would take and entail. But it would get us in the neighborhood of 8 to 10-ish rooms. So with 9 rooms existing essentially at Abbott that we can use, means that we have to have 10 rooms, which means that I believe that we will be in a good shape to conceivably look at full day K as a proposal. I'm not prepared to give a formal presentation to the board. What I am saying is that it looks as if there's going to be space. It's not going to have a lot of space. There will not be a lot of room to grow, and it will certainly look different in different places. I.e., Abbott will look different than Dugan. So, but to answer your question, the plan now is to try and make it happen. I'll liken it to, I love to eat pizza. I love to eat pizza every day of the week and twice on Sundays. Sometimes you got to go into the fridge and you got to have that piece of chicken that's been there for a few days. This, on the surface, and I don't mean that disrespectfully, what will look different if we do it this way will simply be that kids have gym differently. Kids have a lunchroom differently in different places. However, what will be exactly the same will be the education that we can give them in a full-day environment, which really is the most important thing.
I just wanted to add that the board was made aware of this in the public at the last meeting.
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago when you made the presentation.
Yep.
Not a presentation, but an informational message to
Yes,
the public.
absolutely. So with it going down so big, got to have a plan B. I think it's important enough to do a plan B, even if plan B isn't perfect. We can perfectly well educate our kids, if that makes any sense.
Excuse me if I can add for the 17-18 school year.
Yes, we're not talking about 16-17. Otherwise, Mr. Balone might strangle me out because he doesn't
And
have
I'd shoot you too.
a curriculum written. Sarah's last question was about Linkit. So is it a testing tool or is it more? It's both. Okay. So we have uploaded our common assessments into it this year. What it does is it actually breaks down every assessment into strengths and weaknesses so teachers can then break into small group. So even today we sat through a training, Mr. Balone and I, by Mrs. Alexander, who did a very nice job in the training, and it essentially went through the different types of reports that teachers can send and see. So long and short is that we really had a hard time before of giving an assessment, whatever that was, and knowing if the third grade at Asher performed the same way or better or worse or differently than the third grade at Robertsville. We now can see everything and drill down, and teachers can drill down to personalized learning for children. What we were actually specifically working through today was the concept of what information can we give to parents. And after an assessment, I look at it from my point of view as a father, whether you got a 65, a 68, or a 92, I want to see what those strengths and weaknesses were. And I sit down with my kids and we go through it. One of my children is not mathematically strong, even though I believe that in the growth mindset, right, Mr. Balone, as he does as well, that every child can improve in anything they put their mind to. Soph is an interesting little critter. So I have to design learning paths for Soph, and it's hard when you don't have the specific skills that you need. So even just today, we were talking about what information could we get to parents where they could then plug in on different programs or the internet or Khan Academy or wherever and simply plug in a specific standard and understand that they could have a learning path for their child. So our goal, and I'll say goal because what I really would like it to be is Linkit would generate a list of standards that that a child struggled with, and you could also see the ones that they did well on. And then what would happen is that it would funnel through Genesis into the parent portal, and you would then have at your grasp every standard that you would need, and you would simply have to just plug away as a parent, which I think is a really great dialogue to enter into. Now, the logistics of getting that working, we're still in the midst, and it's going to take some finagling, and it might not be able to work quite that way, so we'll have to make it work a different way. But either way, end goal is for parents to have all the information so they can sit down and see. We can't obviously send the common assessments home because then they would be out and about, and that would skew everything that we would do because we do look at them as good learning tools. So Linkit is way more than that, but the goal, Sarah, going forward is that teachers will be able to upload their own tests. Mr. Blown? Correct? And I think some are even doing that now, right? Okay. They're playing with it, okay. But that is the goal. A couple of them I know had, and I know that they got different things to upload, so I think it's just not systemically. It's not done with blessing because we want to try to make sure that it's done with fidelity. Okay? Amy, I think I addressed your first one about the transparency. I'll be happy to be transparent. Chromebooks, I'm so happy that you stand here and talk about the love of Chromebooks. I think they're incredible. I really do. I believe in the power of Google. I think it's a game changer. I think it's just incredible on communication, on collaboration, on free, because everything we do on Google is 100% free, and in the end, it makes us all better. It really does, and more productive. So I'm so happy to hear you stand up and say that. I'm so happy that you stand here and say that teachers respond at all hours of the night. I think that is incredibly awesome, and I want to give our teachers a hand for doing that. I think that is awesome. And that is, we have incredible teachers, and that is the power of the difference a teacher can make in the life of a student. Not just at responding at 9 o'clock, because that's awesome, but also wanting to respond at 9 o'clock. When you're supposed to be home with your families, which I think is why we all got into this business in the first place. So kudos to teachers. Google Classroom is awesome. We haven't really done mandates at Google Classroom. Teachers have really ran with it, but we've given lots of training on the Google platform, so thank you. Supplemental. Okay, so why did we create supplemental? We created supplemental because at the end of the day last year, when we took a real good hard look at the district gradebook through a marking period, we had a lot of instances where there were 4 and 5 grades in the gradebook. So we convened a grading committee. And for those of you who know how I work, anyone know my concept of thumbs besides Mr. Balone? Okay, so this means I love it. This means I can live with it, but I don't love it, but I can live with it. And a thumbs down means that I can't live with it. So when we enter into consensus building activities, I utilize thumbs, and I'm only ever a member of the committee, not the leader. Sometimes I speak, sometimes I don't. But what the thumbs allow me to do is to gain consensus. If I have one thumbs down, the process stops. And we have to figure out how to get that person to the middle. If I don't get that person to the middle, or if that person doesn't get to the middle, it's not really about me getting them. If they're not at the middle, then that concept stops, and it's a stalemate, and we figure it out. So what we did was we put teachers, both regular and special ed, elementary and middle. We put our 2 data specialists, who are just incredible people, in the room. We put union leadership, administrators, myself, Mr. Balone. I believe there were 11 people. 11 people all in. 6 out of the 11 were teachers. 6 out of 11 were teachers, and we really had a good hard discussion about grading. And in the years prior, a child could have had one test in the whole marking period that would have been worth 60% of their grade, and it could have been one of 5 grades. And I personally, I couldn't deal with that. Personally, professionally, it's just not okay. It's not okay to bang a kid on the head for 60% for one test. So we talked about all these concepts, and we roundtabled everything. We used thumbs. It's put out there that I perhaps forced thumbs into the air. I never force any thumb into the air. People can put their finger literally wherever they want it. Came out all wrong, didn't it? All wrong on camera. So thumb anywhere they want it. And at the end of the day, we actually had consensus on all but one subject, which was written expression. And it was a really good hard dialogue about, was 10 grades too much for writing? So we did we tabled that piece, and we went back to committee, and then we fixed it. So long and short, out of that came a whole new bucket, because tests and quizzes in Marlboro were always announced. And teachers felt as if they had to announce everything, or it was a violation, literally. So we created the supplemental bucket to include essentially anything else that could exist in the classroom. So, every teacher that we hire is high caliber. So really don't want to believe that people didn't understand the supplemental bucket. They may not have agreed with it, because honestly, we didn't take this across the entire district. We had a committee which represented the district. They may not like the fact that they had to do extra grades, but the committee was the committee, and any changes going forward will still run through that committee. So we deployed supplemental. We talked about what it was. We gave copious examples. If you'd like to.
Did they know before the first day of school?
They probably learned right around the first day of school. But for anyone to say that first day, for anyone to say that they really don't understand how to give a do now or an exit ticket or anything in between and have it not be announced, I got to be honest, I don't buy. I just don't buy. We hire the highest caliber teacher. And I not only say that because I'm the superintendent of the district, but I also played HR director for the entire summer. So what I did is that I interviewed everybody new that came on. And out of all of those people, they were all incredible. And I don't ease up, I talked to them about formative assessment, summative assessment. How do you differentiate? What would you do in this case? What do you do in that case? I am not hey, how you doing? I'm Eric Michael, nice to meet you. I kick tires, just like Miss Debbie does over here. And they all passed mustard. So anyone who says that they didn't understand what supplemental meant, I don't buy it, especially because principals deployed it and talked about it. So we've had constant dialogues about supplemental. Why do they all end up a little differently? They ended up just a little differently at different areas just because of just discussions that we had regarding labs and things of those nature that drove those discussions. If you have any specifics, I'll be happy. Mr. Blum will take them. That really was the genesis of the supplemental bucket, because in that committee, when we talked about the fact that all grades were announced, everybody agreed. You're right. All grades were announced. We need something else that will allow us to be able to gather some data points on our kids. To your point of, are we using those data points to help make specific learning gains with kids? I hope so. Can we always get better at that? We sure can. So constant improvement is always our goal. Okay? Absences. Yes, doctor's notes do exonerate that day. Does it actually get the phone call? I don't know the answer. I'll have to figure it out. If it's an exonerated day, my head tells me that you shouldn't get a phone call if it's an excused absence.
You too.
You get a phone call?
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's excused? Mm-hmm. Okay. I stand corrected. I will be happy to dig into that and see if there's a way that we can do that. Is it automatically generated? No. Or is it a phone call from a live body?
Yes.
Okay.
Amy's asking about 5 days.
There's a letter.
Right. You get a
There's
letter after 5 days.
warns
But are
you.
the absences, the excused
after
absences
whatever
from
it
the
is.
doctor included in those days?
So then you have the opportunity to submit doctor's notes after that. I'll be happy to take. So what I'll do is I'll take this back to my admin team at the next admin council, and then I'll make sure I can discuss it intelligently. Okay. I will contact you, Amy, on that one. Common assessment. We did not bring the percentage down because it was not taught. 100% no. And I've always said whenever this comes up, we should never assess any child on any standard we have not taught, and if we do so, we are clearly wrong. And that should never, ever, ever happen. So if that happens, I need to know about it, and there needs to be an addressing of that occurrence. Yes, we do use common assessments as one measure of multiple measures to place children. What we do not ever use would be park data or NJAS data. We've never used that type of data. We have used CTP4 in the past, but that was not the same type of thing. So, and we also now use the COGAT. Testing. There are times that they will have tests multiple in a day. I personally think on a team, 3 sounds very high. I'll bring that back to the middle school principals and simply say, hey, I know teams talk. There's got to be a way to work around that. What I will tell you is that we do not mandate when they give tests other than CAs. Teachers have the autonomy of scheduling them. I think a lot of times, and I've talked to Mr. Balone about this, when Mr. Balone taught at Memorial, they had, I think he told me that you had a whiteboard in the hallway and everyone signed up when they were. I think that process does happen. Could it be the outlier? I don't think 3 tests a day should happen all the time, but I will be happy to bring that back. I think that's everything.
No.
No, not everything? What did I miss there?
I want to know if you were going to issue a written policy.
Everybody asked for it.
Yeah.
Policy for Marlboro.
Yeah, I already addressed that. Yeah, is it going to be a policy the board approves? Absolutely not. Will it be the procedures on how to refuse? Yeah, I said that. I said that. I think.
She's asking, are we going to do a written policy? So the answer is no.
Well,
Will we have our policy for?
are you going to have? So when you say policy, Amy, what that means to me is a policy approved by the Board of Education regarding how to opt out of park. In my opinion, no, I don't think we should do that. Should we disseminate procedures on what that should be if you so choose? Not a problem. I'm also going to put in there that I think that every child should remain tested. But yes, so if your question is, will we disseminate words that will tell a parent the correct way to opt out if they so choose? The answer is yes. Yes. Yeah, but yeah.
What about the transportation?
She didn't ask any questions to me.
I have some question. You mentioned the full-day kindergarten, right? From last meeting.
Yep.
Do we have?
Yeah.
Do you have a plan will be in place in September? Next September will be in place?
No.
What's the
You
proposal?
said that.
17, 18.
Okay. And so if 17, 18, what is the, like, say, when you make a plan, when do you have the new proposal in place for us to discuss? Say,
Okay. Good question.
Yeah.
So what I foresee happening is early winter coming back and giving you a full layout of what I think it will look like in 17, 18 based upon what the available room space is in during this year.
Okay.
The reason why we can't go 16, 17 is really a couple fold. Number one, I couldn't physically transform those rooms in time. Number two, Mr. Balone can't physically write the curriculum without really dropping what he's doing right this moment. Although in recent discussions, Mr. Balone is going to, over the course of the next few months, gather steam in starting our curriculum so that we're in a good spot. And then what I will show to the board is, here's how it'll look at every building. Every building, in my initial data gathering is a little different. For instance, Asher Homes, you have no room at the inn, not one bit, other than the computer labs. That's it, really. Other rooms, other buildings, you can finagle around to get a couple rooms. So there's just without the computer labs, it's not going to be feasible. So you have to transform these computer labs. There's every computer lab. I think every computer lab is the technology hub, right, Sin? So we have to work with Mr. Ennie and move that around because we don't want to leave that in there. We have issues with bathrooms that we have to work out. We have to make sure that the computer, if the computer labs aren't within essential sight of bathrooms or right next to it, we have to then reconfigure to get the children as close to the bathrooms as possible. So early winter, I will come to you with what the very broad strokes of what that should be.
Okay. Because people ask for this question.
Okay, thank you, John. I'll bring us
Mr.
to,
Lelonsky, if I can,
Yeah.
I actually went back. The cost for the printing that we did, it was a 4-page print with mailing and delivery to each post office, et cetera, and stuff. It was $27.85.
2,708.
Yeah, that included the printing, the postage, and the delivery to the post offices.
okay, we haven't discussed yet, though, we're going to do any more
No.
printing, or we haven't discussed how we're going to communicate with the public yet at all?
No.
Just the basic costs.
Yep.
Yep.
Just on the, when you come up with your thoughts in terms of the full-day kindergarten, by the time that you're looking to present something,
Yep.
will you have had enough time at that point in terms of getting whatever construction costs or whatever other fees or costs are involved? Will that be
Yes.
part of that?
Yeah, I will have a broad stroke. And it's really going to be important that we do this before budget, because there's bank cap that you're going to have to utilize to placehold for teachers as well. That will be, in a transparent manner, a discussion you have to entertain in order to do that.
Great, thanks.
Absolutely.
The last meeting I mentioned that when you have new proposal for next new year, right? You're going to give us, say, the forecasting for a couple of years. So your plan in place for how many? What's your plan for? Can last how many years for kids to stay in for the kindergarten? That's why I would like that type of information.
Sure.
Right?
What I'll be able to show you, Joanna, is going to be our demography study, which shows, however, it's almost like when you buy a new car and you drive it off the lot, you have an instant depreciation. It's good for the moment, and even our study showed us going down, and we're actually climbing. So what I can best do is forecast. That's really what I can give you on where we are. The other issue that I want to bring to the table that you're going to hear is going to be if this all works out in 17-18, I'm going to bring to you a recommendation to move our kindergarten date back in line with the rest of the world. But that will give, if that's what we do, that will give the parents of our school district essentially a year and a half to adjust to that date, and to know that perhaps if their child fell somewhere in that area, they might need to worry about an extra year of preschool or something along those lines. And I that's to yet another reason why you don't want to rush and do this for 16, 17, because if you give, some parents might be upset anyway if their child would have started but now can't. But at least now you give them a year and a half to prepare for it, which is a long shot off the bow.
So basically, for financial perspective, so you will try to use the 2% the bank cap and
Yes.
the tax levy before the budget for okay.
Yeah, so you will definitely put some money into the general fund, and then you will also utilize the 2%, which Joanne is referring to. That's all that we can raise a tax levy, not in a disrespectful way. That's what we can raise a tax levy. And if we haven't taken the 2%, it sits in a bank cap for essentially a 3-year window. You will want to utilize that not only for probably initial construction costs, but then placehold it so that you can turn that right around and then hire the staff that you need to make this come to fruition.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
You're most welcome.
Financial business on page 5. Cindy, are there any changes before we read?
Yes, page 9. You have a blank line there for Marlboro Prep Academy. The dollar amount is $1,668.
Say it again.
1668.00.
It?
That's it.
Thank you. Robin, we have 19 resolutions from page 5 to 17. My reading, please.
Not at all. Financial and business operations. The superintendent of schools submits the following resolutions for approval. 1, transfers. 2, list of bills. 3, secretary monthly reconciliation reports. 4, travel. 5, harassment, intimidation, bullying, HIB report. 6, donation. 7, maintenance reserve account transfer and appropriation. 8, memorandum of agreement, Marlboro Township head custodians. 9, approval of contract resident consultants. 10, acceptance of non-public security and allocation. 11, non-public school district consultation forms for non-public security aid program. 12, donation. 13, school bus emergency evacuation drill report. 14, donation from Marlboro Educational Foundation. 15, approval of agreement. 16, acceptance of safety grant. 17, appropriation of revenue. 18, state contract purchases. 19, resolution providing for a special school district election to be held on January 26, 2016, for consideration of a bond proposal by the legally qualified voters of the school district. I so move.
Thank you, Robin. Seconded by Craig. Question on financial and business. You got it, Deb.
Number 2, ST Math, for the bills. I know I've brought up ST Math to Mr. Ballone a few hundred times, probably. Sorry. I'm finding it very difficult to approve the bills with this in it, being that we've changed so many different procedures as far as homework, online tools. You mentioned Khan Academy before. There's free online tools through Khan as well. I did a quick search and I came up with, pages of things that are Common Core math resources, free online. And I guess I was wondering if we're going to approve a $19,000 bill, how administration feels that this is making it better when I'm hearing parents saying that they have 2 hours per week of just ST Math alone. And I know we were talking about lessening busy work, and I want to be comfortable with approving this.
Sure. I think there's separate issues there to Wade. The first is, at the last administrative meeting, I sat down with all of our administrators and talked about the fact that we have a homework regulation, and in that regulation, we have clear minutes that should be being utilized. Now, one of the things that we're going to improve in our homework regulation is the fact that there are homework minutes, and then there's things outside of the homework minutes, which I don't think is fair. I don't think that extra reading is wonderful, and I think online programs can be wonderful. However, I think they should be included in the actual minutes that we do. That's separate of that. As far as ST Math goes, ST Math is awesome. It is a conceptual program that helps children think about math. I think in this moment, we put this on an agenda, and if you don't approve this, then what happens is that you yank the rug on teachers that are using this and using this with fidelity. So I would say yes, definitely approve it. I think it's a great program. Michael, would you like to add anything about ST Math? And Gigi?
Is Gigi moving faster? I hear she is.
Just a tiny bit.
A tiny bit.
Is Gigi a woman?
Or whoever, Gigi,
I don't know.
he, she.
Is it the penguin?
The penguin.
Penguin.
Yes.
Penguin. I hear you.
So we have multiple resources that we use, right? In math, ELA, and all of our subjects. And as Dr. Hibbs said, ST Math is conceptual. You can think of it as you go to IKEA and you have no directions, right, to put something together. You just have to look at the picture and figure it out. What it does, it's similar in terms of math concepts. So while we do expect students to read in math and write in math, they also need to conceptually understand problems and how to solve those problems by using perseverance. ST Math is a program that enables them to do that. We've seen some really good success with ST Math, and I support the use of it, and our teachers are using it.
Yep, absolutely.
Debbie, I finally came around because it took, I spoke to Mr. Bowen years ago about it, but I've realized that it's such outside-the-box thinking, and I think it's really worth it. Fabulous for kids.
Thank you.
Okay.
On number 13, I think this is more of a Mark question. Is it mandated to list when our drills? Okay, so it's a Cindy question. Sorry,
Yes,
Mark.
you are.
Okay, it can't be done as a reference sheet. It has to be listed on the agenda.
You have to have it in the resolution.
And Cindy, I guess another question for you on 19 for our question.
Yep.
I think I asked this the first time around. Is there going to be a layman's term box?
No, it won't be any different. We'll put out information, but this one is clearer than the other one, because the other one was a little convoluted because of not getting the money for the Abbott Center. So that's what really skewed it. This one is probably pretty straightforward. We'll have it in the information we send out to people, but you can have another side question there too.
So no real interpretive
No.
statement coming up. Okay, thank you.
I have a question. People in the community have expressed concern that the amount of work we're doing, and we never bother to, in their opinion, to get a second opinion. They would like to know if that's possible, to get a second opinion on the work that needs to be done. That's just something.
We didn't get contractors yet. This is just the estimate from the engineers.
Right.
So when we do that, explain the bidding process, I guess, for the public. It'll be a bidding.
So it would be an.
It's a public, it has to be a public bid.
Yeah.
So they're estimating what the costs are. They're giving us the cost of what it's going to be to go out for this referendum and what our cost for the entire project would be. Then what you do is you put the bids together and for the individual projects, and you go out on a public bid. And then you either accept them or not based on what your budgets are for each of the projects.
Right, but what they're asking is, do we get second opinions as to whether or not the things that they're saying really needs to be done? That's just what people are coming out and asking.
To come in and you have an architect. We don't really have an architect of record, but we work with someone that you trust to come in and look at your systems and make informed judgments.
You're asking if it's something that can be done, another engineering company?
You'd have to have somebody, you'd have to pay another architect engineer whatever costs to come out and reevaluate everything. So you're probably looking at $5,000.
So we would, in order to get a
And I
second
have to
opinion,
tell
that
you-
would be another, so that would be more money spent
Correct.
just to.
Absolutely, because nobody's going to come out and do that for free.
No.
Okay.
He had his hand up.
Oh, I just want to talk about number 19, which is the resolution. I guess it's kind of continuation on this. I just want to restate again that I'm going to be voting no on this because I still strongly feel that this is a decision that any sitting board should have to live with throughout the duration of the project. We have 2 new board members coming in January. They were handpicked and endorsed by the mayor for reasons of fiduciary knowledge and responsibility, for having sound educational requirements for the district, that one in particular feels we weren't dealing enough with education. I feel that these repairs are desperately needed for the health and safety of the students. However, the referendum was previously just voted down by a unanimous decision for the most part. And we can sit here all night and guess why it was voted down, whether it was because of the kindergarten program, whether it was because of the repairs. The reality is we don't know. And I think that this decision, as much as I think it needs to happen, but I think it should be the decision on the whole board as a new board in January, before any kind of additional expenses are incurred, any kind of projections are made. I think that these 2 new members should be well-versed enough. I think all the information has been out there and it's been made public, so they should be able to come in here and ready to run with this. So that's why I'm voting no. I just wanted to be clear on it.
Hey, Craig.
Go
that way.
Well, Victoria wants to speak.
Go ahead.
She can speak next.
Mine was just more, I don't know how long you're going to take. Mine's just on the bills. I have a question on the bills. You're going to, Cindy, just real quick. On the bills list for the 15,145? On the township projects, what are we doing? It says township projects, it says shared service of township projects.
Yeah, what we do is, it's our architect, but they're doing work, and the township reimburses me for that. They're doing projects over there. It was a roof they were doing some studies.
So this is reimbursement to us?
Yes.
Okay.
They're on our bills because I pay them, but I bill the township to reimburse us.
It's reimbursement first. Okay, thank you. The other one are school specialty, pay to school specialty for district-wide schools, classroom supplies for $61,000.
Oh, yeah.
What is that?
Classroom supplies.
Well, I know classroom supplies, but what type?
Oh, yeah, every teacher, all their supplies. This is the bill.
So this is
for-
teachers' supplies. Okay, that's
Yes.
it. That's all I need. Thank you.
Thank
Sorry,
you.
Bonnet. I knew mine would be quick. Okay.
That's fine. I'm voting no on 19, as I said last meeting, because I think the new board coming in should be the board that, going forward, should be dealing with this. They're the ones that will be approving all the work that will be going into this, and to hear that Cindy feels that having another architect to look at the what the other architect and reviewing what he had done would only cost approximately $5,000 on a $23 million referendum. I think is money well spent, especially since this architect sat here and said changing windows would make no impact on saving money for this board. I think you were the one who asked that question, and he made it clear that it would save no money. I don't think changing the windows would benefit the district at that point. So I think things in that referendum are not worth dealing with at this particular moment. So I think, as my husband had said, we have to take a different view of the new board has to take a different view, with 20,000-foot view of what's in that particular referendum. So I'm going to vote no and let the new board take a hard look at what is in that and ponder how to go forward with this. Because it failed 31% to 69%, and we just can't go. We made mistakes, and we just can't do it, and I have to say no. I'm also voting no on number 8 because not that I don't value the custodians, I do, the head custodians, I do, but we have a 2% cap, and I can't speak about the details in this because I can't speak about the details in this because we haven't voted on it yet, right?
Oh, I think it's public, right? I mean, a memorandum of agreement at this point?
Yeah.
Okay. So we have a 2% cap, and that doesn't mean that we can go to the 2% cap. When you have this 2% cap and we have only, quote, 9% that we can play with in our budget, if you keep giving out to that 2% on contracts, even with a small unit like this, there's going to be a point that you're not going to have that 9% anymore. The state contract, the health plan, for the last 5 years has gone up 9%. Correct?
It's gone up more than that.
It's gone up 9. Thank you. I thought it only went up 9% for the last 5 years. So if it's gone up more than 9% and you're giving 2% for the past 2 years as a retro, and you're giving 2% for the next 3 years, and the state health plan has gone up, thank you, what has it gone up, Cindy?
Anywhere from 13 to 9, or 9 to 13. It depends on the year.
These contracts can't be sustainable. We got ourselves into trouble when Cindy last year opened up our budget by saying we're $2.5 million in the red because of contractual obligations. And that's when we had to put our hands in the taxpayer's pocket and going into bank cap.
Well,
you did say that.
I did say that, but let me clarify what I was talking about, because I said it was because of that, but you couldn't sustain because the board did not go to cap for every year. I mean, we had 0 increases, so
We
you
had
can't
to pay
say
the piper.
it's because
We had to pay the piper.
Of course you did, but you can't say it's
But
only
you said
because.
it every year, and you said it every year, and you said even
I
with,
said not going to cap.
and we can't sustain it. And even if we keep doing this, you're going to keep dwindling down even that 9% that this board has to play with. And then we have the looming 40% tax that we are going to have to pay somewhere along the line, whether we pay it or whether it comes out of premium. So, guys, you can't keep doing this. So I'm voting no, and you could sit there and laugh, Debbie.
You know why I'm laughing? Because I'd like the public to know that these things are discussed in executive sessions that we cannot discuss.
I wasn't here. I was just told that I can
And that's all I'll
discuss it.
say.
I was just told I can discuss it.
Discuss the terms of the MOA.
I
No,
discussed
no,
it.
what was said-
I'm saying
what was said in
discussions.
executive.
I wasn't
exec-
there. I wasn't.
About the negotiations process.
On one of them, you weren't.
I wasn't there.
Yeah, correct.
I wasn't there.
So
Okay.
that's fine.
Thank
Yeah.
you. I wasn't there.
I have a question on number 8. This is not for other custodian, but just ahead of the custodian.
Correct.
Okay. And do we know, in compared to the average, what is our custodian's head salary?
Can you speak up? You cannot hear.
Compared to average, is our head custodian's salary above or below or at average?
I have to tell you,
Other districts, you mean?
Yes.
Compared to other districts.
yeah, I don't know.
All right.
Oh.
Are you done?
No.
I apologize.
So we, okay, I don't have that information. Can I get this information somehow?
Yeah, I can survey the surrounding district, sure.
Okay, thank you. And for number 19, I'm going to vote no for the similar reason that I think next board will be better to review it, to make decision on that, to review the whole process, because from this election I clear to see that people are having problem with our residents have problem with this cost. So I think when the new board comes, there's a chance that we re-review this whole proposal, see how things can be a little bit, be different. So that we're going to have a modified proposal, not the same proposal, go out again for the memorandum.
Okay, thank you. Does somebody want to?
Yeah, there was one last thing that totally skipped my mind. We also added in this contract another longevity step at 35 years. So, which we couldn't have left it at 30 years. We added 35 years. And it blows my mind. And as far as Debbie, even if I was here, there have been times where I have said to this board in executive session, why are we doing something? And it's gone to deaf ears. And no one listens. And I have stated it soundly, and no one cared. So it doesn't matter if I would have been at that meeting or not.
You're right, Bonnie. It doesn't matter because you could sit here and at times that Dr. Hibbs is telling us we need this and you're agreeing with him. Then when it's time to vote, you abstain, you don't come on time, or you say no.
Oh, no, I
So
come on
that's what I'm
time.
talking
I
about.
totally come on time.
We could leave it at that.
I come on time. I come
Michael,
on.
I'd like to just reiterate how I feel about.
Sure.
We said it 2 weeks ago. I really, I don't want to say it again to the same ears, but I still feel that we are a board. We've put it out to the public that these are priorities. We have 40% coming back to us if this referendum passes. And saying that the number 9s are not going to be a number 9 until a September date, what do we do from here to there? Things take time. And I really hope the majority of the board really thinks about this. I understand, Craig, if it weren't all number 9s and it was something that I felt in my heart that we could wait for, I may have agreed. But I really feel that these are total number 9s that we're talking about 2 board members out of 9.
Cindy, just confirming, so if we wait, it won't be till September, is that?
Correct, because the only way it could be March is on January 5th, the night of reorg, the board would have to adopt the question. And that's impossible because they wouldn't be prepared to do that.
Why couldn't they be prepared? Everything's out there. All the information's out there. They've stated that they don't want it, they were against it, they should be
They're not getting green
knowledgeable.
notes for January 5th.
Well, they're not getting green notes, but, I mean, all the information's been out there, Debbie.
I agree, but
I don't think it's practical that somebody would vote that night on a question.
What is it, 60 days prior to the?
Yes, and the March date, it's March 8th.
And in reality, they can't have all the logistics that we have because they're not board members yet.
Yeah, no, I
Correct.
know they can't, but what I'm saying is,
Most-
there's
yes.
information, most of it is
Yes.
out there.
Yes,
That's
it
all I'm
is.
trying to say. is
So
there's-
therefore, the next date would be September, because your next date is in September.
They don't have one in June?
No.
It's March, September,
March, September,
December?
December, January.
Can we change a reorg meeting to move it up a little and give that extra few day cushion to still do it in March?
You could have the reorg meeting and have a day, meeting on the 8th if you wanted, a special meeting.
Maybe following week.
No, we have to file it on the 8th with them, so you'd have to have it on the 7th.
I think, I'm sorry, the question here, based on what the feedback for the community, for whatever reason, just say for the reason here, right? The new board, the new member come to the board, right? That's what asked Mike last meeting. With this proposal, do we have new change? So the expectations, new board member will be deny this proposal to reevaluate. If this is the way we are going, that's what we try to make a point in here. Are we going to re-assess, say, go over again from scratch beginning to see how we can save money? Or do we have this alternative to do so? That's the question here.
You say we have the authority?
The things that they try to say, we want to do reassess. So we reassess the capital cost for the school cost, boiler, with the actual, air conditioning. If we can have a new proposal to lower the number than this, that's the argument's sake. Do we have a new proposal in place? If they say the new board member come in, we just still want the same thing. Why do we waste the time to dragging down? But that's the question. We come to the point. I mean, I'm not polite any whatever reason. Let's say Baldwin Park. Do we have a new proposal in place in January?
The same proposal, is that what you're?
Yeah. Do we have new? Do we want to start from scratch? Say we want to do. Say we find a new architecture. We say how much it costs. Are we go to new around? That's the point. Boil down the point. We can talk about.
I think she's saying it's going to be the same thing in January. Is that?
Yeah. Let's the Mike say same thing in January.
Putting out the exact same
same number.
That's fine, but let them vote on it.
So they say, oh no, we want to have new things.
They are board members, they can vote.
But, okay, I'll let Bonnie go, but I don't
I didn't mean
know
to
where you
close
make the
discussion.
distinction
I
of,
apologize.
I don't know why we're voting on the bills list tonight. They could vote on that too. I mean, I don't know, why does the board stop doing its business? I don't understand. Or who makes a distinction of what we should vote on, what we shouldn't? Because we stop, should we go home now? Come back in January? Is that what you're saying? Come back in January because they're not here to vote on all the stuff on the agenda?
No, I'm not saying that.
Well,
I'm-
maybe they
I'm
don't
saying
wanna
because
approve the
number
bills.
19
Come on,
Maybe they
Mike,
won't put
you're
the
not
bill.
comparing apples to
Number
apples.
19
Bills
was
and
taken to the
referendum.
public, and it was voted down almost 3-1.
right.
That's
Not
what makes, to
comparing
me, in my
That's
mind,
right.
the exception.
Exactly.
But when we went to the town hall meetings that we had, overwhelmingly, the people said to us, it should have been two separate questions. We would have voted on the one, we wouldn't have voted on the other.
How many people said that?
The 16 that were there.
No, I think
We're not
wait,
talking about a majority of the population.
This all started because we wanted kindergarten. And that's really what this was all about. It was never about maintenance. And maintenance got thrown in here because of there was a way to pass kindergarten. It was never about maintenance to start with. And then all of a sudden, maintenance got thrown in here because we were looking for a way to figure out how to get kindergarten. Yeah, that's how it started.
It's part of it, Bonnie, but that's not 100%.
And then
that's when we got we were on construction, and we got the whole study done, and then
Right,
that came out at the same time.
And we were looking at,
and then we saw. So that's not 100% true how you're stating it.
Yeah. And then we sat here and
Yeah.
we said, and then I threw in memorial and the cafetorium, and we looked at air conditioning for all the schools. We talked about air conditioning for all the schools. And then at the same time that was happening, we had the study, and Ted was looking at the study for looking at the maintenance, because we had the other gentleman doing the maintenance, and we were looking for a blueprint for how because we had never done that. And we talked about that in
Well, the construction committee asked for a comprehensive study.
Right,
But all
because
around
we
the
were-
same time.
And it was all being done at the same time. And those were two separate moving pieces, and they kind of converged. So the maintenance became its own working parts.
Well, it converged because
It
you got
converged.
9s out of them, out of that maintenance
converged.
study.
But the maintenance, we had all these things going on when the other director was here, and we had all those air conditioning problems that some of them turned out to be non-starters. That we had all these, it's a crisis and we have to spend $250,000, $500,000, and then, or this amount of money, and the sky is falling because this isn't going to happen, and remember? And some of them were non-starters, and it didn't happen. So some of them worked out, and I'm not convinced that we need the windows right away, and some of that could be done as part of regular maintenance. And I'm saying that even if the board starts in January, maybe we have to have a second opinion on some of these things, because some of them are like, when you read that report, it's like, okay, I'm shrugging my shoulders, because it's like, okay, well, some of it means nothing when you actually read that report. It's like talking about that air conditioning problem that we had that was a non-starter, like the earth is going to fall, or that electrical problem that we had that turned out to be nothing, that resolved itself miraculously all of a sudden, that it was like for years going on, and then all of a sudden it fixed itself.
That's not what this is.
That's not what this is.
I'm going to clarify something.
That wasn't
That if you
engineers.
would put any of these maintenance projects into your regular budget, you're not getting 40% funding. You're getting no funding from the state.
Yeah.
So therefore, it's going to cost you 100% versus 60%.
I'm not
many years
saying
of
that,
doing it?
yes, but maybe there are
Yeah.
other things that need to be done.
Difficult to say.
What was your question, Debbie?
How many years would it take to do it?
Well, we still have $20 million.
Well, if you could come up with better Band-Aids that they could
But we
use
still
for
have
the
$20
boilers.
million of maintenance that is still floating out there.
I think the other issue that concerns me greatly is that you've got things in these buildings that are original to their buildings, okay? And if something major goes, i.e. a boiler or something like that,
Yeah, no
you're
place.
closing that school,
Yep.
and you're going to push these kids into other buildings. So not only are you going to have, instead of 8 buildings, you're going to have 7 functioning buildings. You're going to be overcrowded. You're going to have transportation issues. You're going to have a multitude of things, because I cannot have kids in a building when there's an issue like that, because it's not going to be heat, it's not going to be hot water, it's not safe. So what do we do? And I'm concerned that could possibly happen.
Absolutely.
I just want to make clear that I remember the electrical problems behind and some of the things you're referencing to, but that wasn't studies done by an engineer reporting back to the board. That was all internal people reporting back to the board, and what happened and didn't happen afterwards. But it was not apples to apples. It wasn't an engineering study done to the board that wasn't correct. Go ahead.
Question here, because the feedback, for the construction, we have construction committee, right? I think the proposal we have in place, the numbers has been discussed during the construction committee, right?
Okay.
I think the construction committee, you already did a diligent homework, I assume, to go to different bid or different contractors, right? So to be in the board member, I trust the construction committee did the homework.
We don't
There's
go to,
no
we don't go to
contract,
concerts.
there's
No
no
concerts.
contractors, it's engineers and the architects.
Right.
That gave us the recommendation, this is what needs to.
You got that big 4-inch.
Yeah. I'm just
No contractors.
Yeah.
It's engineers, it's professionals that recommend.
Yeah, just say
When
we'll put it.
you're right in the concept.
Yeah.
You're right in the concept
Yes.
in that, yes, they were vetted through the committee.
Yes.
They weren't vetted through contractors, because that comes later on once we actually acquire the money that we need, once we do a bid. But, yes, guys, you put, we don't do architect or engineer of record, but you trust, you have your professionals in. You had a study. This is, and the study is, to say that the study is not valid, I think.
I just want to have public know this has been studied during the, we have the homework in place, just now that we
That's
pop
not
our
the
head.
question you should be debating. The question you should be debating is who's in favor of doing it now versus
We're going to
waiting.
get that, and we
Yeah.
get the vote in a couple minutes.
Yep.
All right, so, anything else on financial and business? And I guess,
I haven't spoken. For number, what was the last one? I'm not going to go over and over. I'm just going to agree with Mr. Marshall. I stated it 2 weeks ago why I felt the new board should be the one to vote on it. I agree with you on some stuff.
That's fine.
Okay, but we didn't just throw it all in there to get it passed. Your statement to the public was like, we tried to figure out a way to slide it in there so we could get kindergarten passed. It was all going at the same time, Bonnie. You and I have sat on construction together for years. And we pushed for the maintenance studies, and you pushed for we need a plan, and we all worked together on that. And when all that started coming in on us, we were like, holy crap, our buildings are
Not in good shape.
not in good shape. I agree. We've been given scare tactics. Kids are going to, sweat to death because the chiller's going to go and this and that. And then I agree, but like Michael said, that was not an engineer telling us about the chiller. That was, buildings and grounds guy or whatever that was giving us that information. I know these are 9s, Debbie, but are they 9s? Don't give me a scare tactic that my kids are going to freeze tomorrow.
I'm not going by a
I'm not,
scare
don't try to scare us or scare the public that their kids are going to be freezing if we don't react right now on this. Things need to be replaced.
We're talking about boilers.
I understand boilers. I understand that it's about boilers, and they could go. But it's almost like it's a scare tactic. Like, pass it. Your kids are going to freeze, or the schools won't open. No, you didn't. But I don't think that's a way to go either. They are 9s that we found through the study. Are they 9s that got to be done right at this minute? My question, I go back and I've put it out there. Where was the ball dropped that over the years, why are we hitting it all at once? Could the boilers have been done little by little over the years, replaced since you said original parts? Is it because boilers, you wait till it's a big expense, you say, I'm not going to do it now, I'm going to wait a little, because they're working?
Yes.
So you just keep going with it? And now we get the study, now they're like, well, they're still working, but we don't want to go with it anymore. We got to get in there and fix them now. Got to do it now.
Well, it's an ideal time, okay? Because
no, I get the 40%. It's a savings. That should be stressed.
your interest rates are positive. Your debt's coming off. There's a lot of reasons. And this is the way districts do it. Districts can't pay for boilers. They can't pay for these things.
No, I understand that, but I want the public to understand it wasn't like we just put everything off. Because
No,
really, we should
absolutely
commend
not.
them that they kept these boilers for 50 years
Absolutely.
working.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Commend them that they maintenanced them, whatever they did, whether there was really, I don't know if there was records of it, somehow they kept them working for that long.
We have a bid.
Were they patched? Were they rigged? I don't
We have a
know.
boiler specialist on hand who literally takes these boilers apart and cleans them, and then they're reinspected.
So they should be
every
commended for
year.
that.
Absolutely.
So if he's still doing that, then I think, I'm not going to beat a dead horse. I'm going to vote no. 2 weeks ago, I gave all my reasoning. It was more, and let the new board come on, let them have a say. They were against it out there publicly. Are we going to have a new assessment of it, Joanne? I don't know.
No,
Maybe a new discussion, maybe they will. I don't know.
That's my question. That's my assumption. My assumption in place.
I don't know. They're not happy with what we've done.
Okay. Hey, Vic. All right.
Can I say something on number
Okay.
14 to recognize the MEF? And these are awesome grants that
They
came
are.
through, and they're really, if anyone has a chance to go see some of them,
Absolutely.
they're really great. And the
Amazing
MEF worked
things.
really hard to approve. We had lots of grants, and these are really great. They're really fabulous. And if you look at the ones from Asher, you'll see
Yep. Coding.
Yeah.
All kinds of
they're
great-
doing
great
amazing
science
things
stuff.
in Asher. It's going to
Awesome.
be a science, just great.
Yeah.
Happy to see
Part
so
of it.
many teachers.
A lot of Lenape.
Yep, the Lenape.
And it was around, it was spread out. The
It was-
teachers were spread out, it seems like, that wanted to do it.
But Asher got a lot because they're
Yeah.
doing for every grade a science thing with coding, which was fabulous.
Awesome.
Just wanted to recognize them.
Thanks for the positive.
Atta girl, Rob. Way to make it
Thanks for the
positive.
positive.
Yes, and I was also going to say that on number 14, the MEF worked really hard to get these grants. And
Lot of
they
work.
spent a lot of time going through the grants, and they
Yes.
did a really good job.
And I just want to say back to thank you to the Board of Education for supporting us in all our fundraisers and everything. We really appreciate everything that you guys do.
Thank you. Thank you for your time and effort and everybody that's involved. You know, as Robin said, great. That's how we work. That's how we do it.
See, you didn't have to state your name and address.
Yeah, you bet. I'll go to the microphone. Okay, Cindy, are you ready?
Who seconded that?
Craig seconded, right?
Thank you.
Okay,
I'm ready.
go for it.
Mrs. Matos.
I'm not scared, and it's not a scare
Thank you.
tactic. Yes.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Mrs. Rosenwald,
Yes on everything but 8 and 19.
you are voting.
No.
Mrs. Dean,
Yes on everything, but no on 19.
Mrs. Ennie,
Should I do my yeses or my nos first?
whatever you'd like.
Okay. Abstain, number 4, Tom Ennie, because I am conflicted. No on number 4 for Mr. Hendrickson, because I voted no on the same thing for
Park, yeah.
Carol Vecchio for
Did-
Park.
did
And
he-
I don't think it's fair to vote yes for one and no for the other. And no on number 19.
Mrs. Cow,
Yes for everything, but not number 19.
you voting no?
No on number 19.
Oh, I'm sorry. You went to, I was like, let the new board talk about it since they wanted to be part of it so badly.
Mrs. Lou Riddell,
Yeah, I think my assumption, I say everything yes except 19. 19 no.
Mr. Marshall,
Yes to everything, no on number 19.
Mrs. Wolf,
I have to abstain on number 8 and abstain on number 14. And yes for everything.
Mr. Lalanski.
Yes. So the resolution does not pass. Number 19, correct?
Number 19 did not go.
Okay. Page 18, curriculum matters. Craig, my reading, please.
Absolutely.
Good night.
Good night, Lisa.
Curriculum matters?
Yep.
Number one, Superintendent of Schools submits the following resolution for approval. Number one, interscholastic athletic competitions, winter sports, 2015-2016 school year. I so move.
Thank you, Craig. Seconded by Victoria. Discussion on curriculum. Seeing none, Cindy, please call the roll.
Mrs. Ennie?
Yes.
Mrs. Cow?
Yes.
Mrs. Lou Riddell?
Yes.
Mrs. Matos?
Yes.
Mrs. Rosenwald?
Yes.
Mrs. Wolf?
Yes.
Mrs. Dean?
Yes.
Mr. Marshall?
Yes.
And Mr. Lalonsky.
Yes, page 19, personnel. We have 24 resolutions plus an addendum. Do we have any changes before we read?
Yes, on number 1, page 19. The years for Fern Dim Board should be 13 years, not 12. And you also have an addendum.
I've got it done tonight. So the change is only one more year? Okay.
Yes.
I changed my total now.
By one.
By one.
Yeah. Okay, so we have the addendum. So we have 24 resolutions plus the addendum. Bonnie, you mind reading personnel, please?
No problem. Personnel matters, Superintendent of Schools submits the following resolutions for approval. 1, retirements. 2, resignations. 3, disability retirements. 4, employee number A-9807. 5, employees certificated staff. 6, employment part-time certificated staff. 7, employment instructional assistant. 8, employment bus driver. I almost said bus driver. 9, transportation amended hours salaries. 10, transfers. 11, stipend confidential secretary to the Director of Human Resources. 12, curriculum common assessment review of link kit compatibility for math and ELA. 13, assistant after-school activities. 14, amended location mentor teacher. 15, substitute teachers. 16, substitute instructional assistants. 17, substitute bus attendant. 18, student teachers. 19, field observation. 20, student internships. 21, student practicums. 22, paid medical disability leaves. 23, unpaid leaves of absences. 24, amended resolution leave dates. Turning pages. 25, administrative leave with pay. I so move.
Thank you, Bonnie. Seconded by John. Personnel, questions? Debbie?
Number 12. I know, Dr. Hibbs, you already mentioned link it during our public session.
Yes.
And it's to generate a list of standards in Genesis and hopefully eventually get to the point of uploading tests and making it easier for
Yes.
parents and teachers.
Yes.
I love it and I get it. I guess my question is, why are we paying a stipend for it when
Yep.
we have, I guess 2 questions.
Yep.
Are they all facilitators that are listed? Because I only recognize,
No.
okay. And,
Right? They're not all facilitators. Yeah, go for it.
and I also, well, as part of it too,
Or are they?
we do have data
Yes,
specialists.
Yes. No, they're not all facilitators. Michael will explain.
I guess my question is, we have data specialists, we have math and ELA facilitators, and I'm just wondering if these are to generate lists for the standards to go
No.
tech-wise. Okay, go ahead.
Yep.
No. So to answer your first question, we have the first name there and the penultimate name. Those are our data specialists for the district. Okay. The other individuals are a combination of teachers, and there's a math facilitator on here, reading specialist, both from Defino. And you can see the subject matter there, and then there's a middle school English language arts teacher. The last name.
Excuse me.
Bless you. The task at hand here is to, so we had, we have our common assessments, and as you know, last year they were all taken paper pencil for all intents and purposes. This year we transferred a good portion of them into Linkit. What happens when you do that is they get uploaded into the system, and of course now they're no longer taken on paper pencil, they're taken on the Chromebooks. Sometimes something gets lost in translation because a programmer from Linkit needs to interpret our question types. And if it's built improperly, we need to test that to ensure that when a student, an end user, actually takes the assessment on Linkit, that it not only acts properly when they take the assessment, but that it's also scored properly when the teachers go in to score it. Mainly the manual scoring items. These are not just multiple choice questions. The multiple choice questions are scored automatically. We have a lot of manual scoring, both in ELA and math, because now we expect students to write in math as well. Teachers have to go in and manually score those as well. There were instances where we had multiple selections. If it wasn't just to choose A, B, C, or D, it was choose many, right, in a drop-down list. Maybe there were 3 answer choices that would give a student full credit. When Linkit goes to score that, we need to ensure that if partial credit is warranted, partial credit should be given. So all of these, I guess, transfer issues from paper pencil to the electronic version need to be worked out prior to putting it in front of a student. So these individuals are going to ensure that the compatibility from the paper pencil transfers over well electronically, not only for the end user, i.e. the student, but also when the teacher grades it. So it's really kind of two-part.
So you feel like this will be a transition type of stipend, I guess? You don't see this continuing throughout the year?
No,
This is
no.
more because of
This is
transition?
because Linkit is a brand new program, and we are reflective on our experiences from Common Assessment number 1. There were a lot of different gymnastics, if you will, that we needed to perform to ensure that we received good data and to ensure that students had a good experience when taking the assessment. We had some challenges. We worked through them. And in order to make it better for Common Assessment 2, this is essential.
So this would be a good checks and balances.
Yep, trying to be
Can
reflective
you
and make sure that it's
explain why they were
works
off
the way
of
it should.
Defino?
Thank
Just
you.
so that-
Sure. Mrs. Wolf.
question?
Mrs. Wolf wanted
majority.
me to explain why a majority of the individuals on this list are from Defino Elementary. Okay, so technically the first, again, and penultimate name on there, they're housed at Defino, but they actually roll out of the curriculum department, so they report directly into the curriculum department. They are teachers, but they are not, their location just happens to be Defino. They're not necessarily from Defino School. The second name there and the fourth name are your math facilitator and reading specialist at Defino, respectively. Then you have, so technically you have 2 Definos, 1 Marl, that is also a math facilitator at Marlboro Elementary School. And then we have a middle school English language arts teacher from Marlboro Middle. The other thing we look into is a good fit, right, for this task. We had a lot of applicants, and sometimes it's really difficult, and in this case it was as well. We need someone who knows the content very well, yet still has the tech savvy to really navigate through and understand how the assessment might look within the Linkit system. So these were difficult choices, but it really is not so Defino heavy as it may look.
No,
Thank you.
to a really district. Yep. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I have a question.
Thank you.
What number?
Yeah, number 15. For substitute, right? So we have lists for the substitute for the every year. How many substitute do we have across board for elementary school and the middle school?
We'd have to look at those specific numbers.
So basically, if something, if the one of the teachers, if like say had sick leave for months, then you get a pool from there.
No. For months, Jonathan would go through with the principals, and they would seek out a permanent individual, depending on how long they would be, depending upon their certification.
Mhm.
What number 15 is would be a substitute teacher that would be here on a not permanent basis.
Okay. Okay. Another question from the 18 and for the student teachers. Do we pay them for the student teachers? Oh.
We don't pay student teachers. We don't pay student teachers. It's part of the required coursework.
Okay. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Anybody else? Personnel?
A quick question. I noticed that Defino's losing their vice principal again for medical reasons.
Yes.
Good things.
Good things. Good medical reasons.
I called that Cindy in September,
Yes, you
remember?
did.
Mm-hmm.
Do we already have a plan set up?
It's like, just
We will have a plan. Let me. I'm not ready to talk about it.
Okay. I was just curious.
got a plan.
Got a plan.
Yep.
I like
It'll be fully
plans.
planned.
Personnel? Bonnie?
Number 11. What's the stipend for? I might have been in the green notes, I forgot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Last meeting.
All right, I just forgot.
No worries.
It's just a reflection of the differential in responsibilities between personnel assistant and the confidential secretary to the director of human resources. So there's a secretarial, there's a salary differential between the two of them, and the stipend reflects the additional responsibilities that individual would take on.
So this is permanent?
No.
No, this is temporary.
Yep. We have a leave of absence that we're going to fill.
Say it again.
So, we have a leave of absence that we're going to fill. That right now is temporary.
Okay. So this is only until the end of the year?
Yes.
June 30th, yes.
And then you're filling it?
What?
Well, the individual who's going out
Is coming back.
only out until, right now is only out until June 30th.
Okay.
So at that point, she returns, everything goes back to the way it was.
Right.
Or if there's a resignation, then we fill.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Personnel? Cindy, please call the roll.
Mrs. Lou Riddell?
Yes.
Mr. Marshall?
Yes.
Mrs. Matos?
Yes.
Mrs. Wolf?
Yes.
Mrs. Dean?
Yes.
Mrs. Ennie?
Yes.
Mrs. Cow?
Yes.
Mrs. Rosenwald, I'm sorry.
Yes.
And Mr. Lalansky.
Yes. Page 33, but I believe we have no need for page 33 anymore. What? Oh, I'm sorry, go. I'm sorry. I do that all the time. I'll be tired.
We're going to switch.
Fern Dimbort. Mrs. Fern Dimbort began working as an instructional assistant at Dugan Elementary School in 2003. During Mrs. Dimbort's 13 years in the Marlborough Township Public School District, she has worked with fantastic administrators, caring and intelligent teachers, and good-natured and collegial fellow instructional assistants. Above all, Mrs. Dimbort thrived on her relationships and connections with students and their families. Working in Marlborough and Dugan Elementary Schools exclusively, Mrs. Dimbort has worked with students of all ages, abilities, and talents. She made special connections, serving as a one-to-one assistant on many occasions. Mrs. Dimbort reflected on her time in education by stating, "I will miss the children most, watching them grow and develop academically and socially." Upon her retirement, Mrs. Dimbort plans to spend time with her husband Norman, sons Jason and Jared, daughter-in-law Laura, and 2 grandchildren, Casey and Thomas. She also plans on creating her own schedule to read, relax, and join a kickboxing exercise class. We wish to express our appreciation for her many years of dedicated service to the district and to the students of the Marlborough Township Public Schools. Best wishes in her post-retirement years.
Anna Mina. It's my honor to recognize Mrs. Anna Mina as she will soon embark on her well-deserved retirement after being employed in Marlborough for 20 years. Anna began and is concluding her career as a member of the Health and Physical Education Department. During her tenure, she earned certification in Spanish education and served the district as a teacher of Spanish at the middle school. Anna is a can-do person who is often relied upon to initiate new programs, prepare orders, or simply get things done. No matter the request or discussion, Anna's response is, whatever you need me to do, whatever is good for the kids, whatever is best for the school or the department. I so admire her dedication to the school and students and the collaborative spirit she displays with everyone she comes in contact with. Anna always has a smile and an infectious laugh to share when she is on bus duty at 7:30 in the morning. Anna speaks often of her husband Anthony and her 3 children. David is a naval officer stationed in Jacksonville, Florida. Rebecca is a Spanish teacher, taking after her mom, and Jessica lives with her family in California. Anna is grandma, or in Spanish, abuelita or tita, to 5 grandchildren, including Meredith, Amelia, Naomi, and Elijah and Nadine. We wish her many years to enjoy this time with her family and to share her love and laughter with them.
Phyllis Legary. Phyllis Legary started working as a school bus attendant in October of 2003. Mrs. Legary has been a dedicated and enthusiastic employee. During this time, she has worked with many different drivers on numerous special service runs and always managed to end the day with a smile. Mrs. Legary has done an excellent job with the children placed in her care. She is compassionate, kind-hearted, and would go the extra mile to make their bus trip a pleasant experience. Mrs. Legary also communicated with the parents of the children in her charge, making them aware of the happenings on the school bus. Needless to say, everyone in the transportation department, along with the parents and children who had Phyllis as an attendant, will miss her. We wish her a happy retirement as she and her husband George start a new chapter in their life.
Oh, thank you. Mrs. Angela Ligori has been an instructional assistant at the David C. Abbott Early Learning Center since 2003. In her time here, Mrs. Ligori has established herself as a true asset to our school. She has proven herself to be hardworking, diligent team player in every sense of the word. Mrs. Ligori emulates all the qualities it takes to personify the instructional assistant position. Her colleagues admire her empathy, and she always makes it a priority to build a rapport with the students in the classroom. Mrs. Ligori ensures her students are safe and feel comfortable participating in class. Her cheerful demeanor and a can-do attitude always comes through in the support and friendship she gives to whomever she works with. I know I speak for everyone here at Delk when I say Mrs. Ligori's dedication and commitment to the students will be greatly missed. We wish her the very best of health and a very happy retirement. That's everything. Thank you.
On behalf of the Board of Education, we wish our retirees a happy and healthy retirement. Thank them for their total of 45 years of dedication to the children of Marlborough. Now, back to 33, which I believe we no longer need because
That's
we
right.
don't have a bond referendum any longer. So we'll strike 33 from the agenda. We have no need to move the meeting date any longer. Page 34, liaison reports. New Jersey School Boards, we have anything? Monmouth County. Marlborough Township liaison.
The last meeting was the night of the board meeting.
Okay. PTA, PTO scope.
Meeting coming up.
Meeting coming up.
We already reported on the last
Yeah.
meeting. We have a meeting
Okay.
coming up in December.
Freehold Regional High School.
They had a meeting, regular.
Okay. Marlborough Township Alliance.
Okay, they're having their candlelight vigil. It's a little bit different this year. They're doing it with the township during their tree lighting. So the tree lighting will be held at Town Hall on December 9th, which is a Wednesday night at 6:30. At the municipal building at 6:30. So they're going to have refreshments and just come out, and the high school students will be there, and they'll be singing and all kinds of stuff.
Good stuff. Thank you.
Both together, 6:30, but at the town?
Town Hall.
Okay.
Very good. Educational Foundation.
I think
We did it.
Dr. Hibb.
Thank you again. Okay.
Just a quick question. I just wanted to make a comment about the last PTO meeting that I was at. Where would I kind of throw that in there?
Probably under new business or old business.
Yeah, where is
You
that?
make the comment.
Oh, there it is.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, committee reports. We had no buildings and grounds didn't meet. I don't believe there's any other committee reports. Policy committee did meet, but there's no report yet.
No report.
Okay. Anybody have any old business? I guess you can do that. It's old.
I just want to make a comment. I went to the last PTO meeting at Robertsville, and both the principal and I don't know his title, but Adam Lindstrom, who's a relatively new employee, and I just wanted to tell you guys that they both did such an excellent presentation for the PTO members there. Part of it had to do with some of the software that's being used for the kids in the classroom. And the other part of it had to do with, I guess it's the library that they were seeking funding for, which was granted by the PTO because they had raised a lot of money. And I think they awarded about $15,000 to him. And I just wanted to say, we get criticized a lot for the people that we hire. And these two gentlemen, I just from my own perspective, they really did one hell of a demonstration. And I would encourage, it even came up, and they did a survey where you had to text in your response, and I didn't even know how to do it. So, but the bottom line is, it was like, would the parents be interested in coming out and seeing a demonstration of what the kids are being taught, or how the kids are being taught in the classrooms? I think it would be a phenomenal idea, and I just wanted to throw it out there that people should know there's a lot of stuff going on. And just as a board member attending one PTO meeting, it was just really refreshing to see the progress that we do make. So I just
know
wanted to
Adam has
commend
plans
them
on
publicly.
doing parent nights this year. I just want to say I hired both of them.
We approved them.
You did. You did.
Good.
I have new business, though.
Go ahead, new business?
I have new business. I'd like to give this board a gift. You were around at the time on Freehold Regional. When we were on Freehold Regional, during the crazy times, we used to have very late meetings, and I know this board sometimes does still have some crazy late meetings, and we look at one another and our eyes cross, and none of us can really think after a certain hour. None of us can. And it's crazy. So I think my gift to all of you will be this. I'm going to make a motion that our meetings should not go past 11 o'clock. And if they do go past 11 o'clock, it will take a board member making a motion. Remember, we did this on Freehold Regional. It will take a board member to make a motion to extend the meeting. And it will take a second and a vote, because it just is too crazy to go beyond that. And if it is that important of a subject, you need a fresh brain and a fresh pair of eyes to continue it. Or, as I said, a vote. So that's my motion.
It would really, it would have to be codified in a policy. That's how it's done. So we would have to amend the policy, and it would require 2 readings. So if you wanted to do a motion to amend the policy to include that language tonight, and then we could have the...
which policy would we do it under?
There's probably a policy entitled probably board meetings, which has the agenda, the items of business, or something along those lines. We'll fit it in the right place, but that's where it should be.
Let me put it under,
One as opposed to 3.
so why don't we put it, add that to the motion to put it into the policy
To amend policy
on board
blank
meetings?
regarding boards of ed meetings ending.
Yeah, so the language would essentially say that no regularly scheduled meeting of the board shall extend beyond 11 p.m. unless a board member makes a motion seconded and approved by the majority of the board to extend the time for whatever designated period the board sees fit. So somebody
You
gets...
expected me to have all that? I'm not Ann.
Okay, so,
A lot of
Still
successful
thanks, but
marriages
it's
are
not 11.
predicated on late board meetings.
I'll give you the language later, but the gist of it is we're
I got
amending.
it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Who we discuss, we gotta see the second first, then we can discuss.
okay, so someone seconded,
Someone like to second Bonnie's motion?
of course.
I will second.
Okay, John seconded Bonnie's motion. So we can discuss Bonnie's.
I just would like just a general or more specific.
Okay,
to
so,
Bonnie.
so I will explain to.
No, just
oh,
real quick, one question before you go further into it, because I don't want it to last another 2 hours when we have important business to take care of.
You're such a snotty bitch.
Well, it's,
No.
Mark, I think we could handle that on the legal end, please.
Let's keep it civil, please.
Thank you.
Then don't be
I
such
have
a
couple
snotty.
question to the board president. Would this also include, or maybe to Mark, would this also include executive session?
It's the entire meeting, so yes.
But there will be no executive session if you ended at 11 and we didn't get there yet.
Correct.
Without-
Unless somebody made, again, unless somebody made a motion to say that we haven't done our executive session, we need to extend the meeting for a half an hour, an hour.
Extending every meeting.
As much as I would love to think that that's even possible.
Well, I mean, guys, look, there's honestly,
days that it's
and it's not about me, but when I leave here at 1 o'clock in the morning, that's crazy.
Oh.
It's flat out crazy.
Yeah.
And regardless if I drove 10 minutes home or if I drove an hour and a half home, there are times when we can speed things along and have good discussions and then table for a next time. But even if you considered this from Bonnie, all it would take to go past 11 is just, hey, who wants to go past 11? And we all go, hey, we got to get it done. And then, but look, at the end of the day, you know, I know what I got into driving here. I do know that I've probably almost crashed my car twice so far, where my head came back up, my head hit my chest one time. That sucks, for lack of a good word. You know, it really does. At 3 o'clock in the morning, that's what happens. So.
And what happens also is you pick and choose then what is important to the board at that particular moment, and you continue on that subject line, and the rest you table for the next meeting.
So all you have to do is just make a motion.
Motion to continue the meeting, and
My
you
question
pick and
is,
choose.
how are we talking about this in November when we have a new board coming in January?
That's a good point. So, one other question is, Mark, and I just have to answer anyway. One second.
It's not such a bad
One second,
idea at all.
When
If-
we can't
if,
pass a referendum because we're waiting
the
for a
public
new
session's
board,
going
how could
on,
we
you'd have to
pass
stop as well.
something that's going to deal with the new board?
I know you could, it might not happen.
Yeah,
but you-
that's it. If the public session is still going on, we say our
Very
policy
good
says it's
board.
11, the meeting ends now. Yes.
Yeah, okay.
That's consistent.
To be consistent, I say we wait for the new board.
That's my question to my question.
Yeah.
You need to vote on it.
Is the new board seated?
Right?
You can amend the policy tonight.
I
You don't
wanted
need
to
to.
curious to know,
I
to
don't know.
learn something.
You don't have to do the readings, but if you want to go through the policy committee, you can take that on.
I think we just have to control our meetings.
And I
Well,
think
with that-
to be fair, we don't typically amend right at the table. We amend through the policy committee, which really is the system. So with a second, there's a second. So now
Right now, there's a motion and a second on the floor to amend it tonight to include that language. So unless there's further discussion, do a roll call. If the board wants to say no and we want to send it back to the policy committee, great. If you want to do it tonight, do it tonight. There's nothing that says you can't do it tonight. You don't have to send it back to the policy committee. It's up to you.
I think to be fair, the process you set has been running through the policy committee, right? Could you possibly amend the motion so that to send it back to the policy?
Somebody can amend it.
So the vote now would be to amend it tonight?
No, to send it back to the policy
The way
committee.
the way
No,
that
the way the
No.
motion,
No.
sorry, the way the motion is, it would be to amend it tonight.
correct
Right.
for first reading to amend the policy on first reading.
Amend it
Yeah.
To send it back to the
Right.
policy
You
committee.
have to make the
But that would be a
motion.
different motion.
You can amend it, my
amend your
motion.
motion,
You can amend my motion.
Do you have
send it
to,
policy.
you have to agree, does she have to agree to the motion, to the
No.
motion?
No, I don't have to
Okay.
agree to amend. Here's how it works. Craig could, if he chose, or anybody could amend my motion and to policy committee. Someone would have to second that amendment. We would vote on that amendment, and then we would vote on my motion
As amended.
as amended.
Yeah, can I have a question? Sure. Just So Bonnie motion, James second. So what means we don't even know the next step. So next step of the policy committee going to have discussion without a new member in place or through the next year? Or?
No. You would have to, right now, we're discussing my motion. So you can either vote on my motion as it is on the floor, or someone could amend my motion to send it back to the policy committee.
And Bonnie's motion right now is amended right now today, correct?
It took us less time
Correct.
to vote on the budget.
I think so. 15 minutes of
Two more meetings.
You can-
John wants to
I just want to explain why I'm second. I went to a Freehold Region board meeting, and a Region High School board meeting. Their meeting is really short. I'm not saying they're not discuss about the things, but they seems like a prepared that they had a discussion before the public meeting. So when they come to the public meeting, things just go so fast. And then I'm sitting there.
Are you saying that they're discussing stuff before their meeting and not?
Through
committees.
They
They
have
run on
a-
it, because you need to state that their board runs differently than our board. We're not allowed, we don't speak before.
They do executive section first, then to the public. And I'm just found out it's really nice that they finish meeting in 1 hour or 1.5 hours.
They do nothing
And,
in public.
So they're not transparent,
They
they don't do anything in the public.
They're still doing their duties.
But they're not transparent because their discussion's not happening in the public.
Is that how it works? They have like a pre-meeting before the public?
They do. They have a executive section then.
So it's not transparent.
I found out.
Not transparent, because they're having discussions in private and nothing in front of the public.
Why don't we roll call this motion?
Well, okay,
So I found out, it's.
How do you control a public session, Mark, with something like that, considering we have a first and a second public session, plus important things in
Mark's answer was
executive?
that you have to stop the meeting at the end of the...
Yeah, our policy says that, we're in the middle of public session. However, it's 11 o'clock. Our policy says the meeting has to end unless some board member would like a motion to extend the meeting for X number of minutes so that we can finish the public session.
After that?
Would require, again, further motions.
There were many.
So you could stop the public portion of the meeting and make a motion to go into executive?
No. You'd have to make a motion to extend the meeting for whatever period of time you wanted to. So say there's 15 minutes left of public session. You could say I make a motion to extend the meeting for another 15 minutes so that we conclude our public session, or I make a motion to extend it for 45 minutes, 15 minutes to conclude the public portion, and then we need to go into closed session for a half an hour. And if you're in closed session, and the half an hour's up, somebody would have to make a motion to continue the meeting further if you're not done with your exec session topics.
There were many times where we did that. We extended for an hour or whatever, and then we picked and chose what was on the agenda that we wanted to conclude.
Or it was important.
That was important. Or we just would say, we want to conclude X, Y, and Z, and left it not with a time limit. We wanted to conclude this item in period.
This is going to sound sarcastic, but it really is not. My question is, can we do it the opposite way? Can we just, if the meeting is dragging on and on, can we make a motion to end the meeting?
The answer is absolutely. We could say that, it's now 1 o'clock in the morning. We don't feel that good decisions are being made now. Let's make a motion to adjourn and continue this discussion at our next meeting.
Actually, we have done that.
To be fair,
We have done that.
honestly, if
Not
you
a-
really look
it's a
at
good
our-
question.
our
Can we
long-
do that
our-
now?
Our long meetings, they're really not about you guys discussing at the table. The long meetings typically are when we have like the 2-hour public session and then the hour public session at the end. I'm not saying to change that, but to be fair, it's really, look, I'm not going to say there's not dissension here sometimes, because there is. However, it's not, it's whatever it is, rebuttal, response, Mr. Blum, which one is it? It doesn't matter what it is. It's a lot, to be fair, a lot of it is the fact that is a 3-hour window that you insert into the meeting. Your 10 o'clock goes to 1 o'clock is what happens.
Oh. I was trying to be nice.
Okay, so I guess we're going to call a roll on
You want to?
Yeah.
Bonnie's motion?
But nothing else happens.
Cindy.
That's allowed to happen.
Call motion for what?
And we have an attorney.
Want to know what the motion is again?
And
What's
it's
the
still allowed
call?
to happen.
We're calling a roll on the motion, on Bonnie's motion to amend the policy tonight to stop our meetings at 11 o'clock. And again, like Mark said, we're going to continue. Somebody raised a motion to continue.
And it's on first reading, right? That's what I have. Okay. Close enough to what you said.
Whatever.
Okay. Mrs. Lou Riddell.
I don't know what I'm voting for. I am too.
So a yes is to accept the motion. Go ahead.
Can I bypass?
Can you explain that one more time, Cindy?
11 o'clock, can't pass.
Cindy, we have another hour and 45 minutes.
Wait,
Can you
no,
please
what happened to
explain
the
it again?
men to take it to the policy?
Someone had
Yeah.
to
Somebody amended
the
it.
amendment.
We're in,
Oh.
we're in the middle of a roll
Hold
call.
on, wait a minute.
Whoa,
Because I want to
whoa.
wait
We're
for
in
the
the
new
middle
board.
of
We're in the middle of a roll call.
See, no, because I want to vote for a new board. Wait for the new board.
Okay.
She's doing the motion.
Gotcha.
You gotta let it go now.
Okay.
You
Sorry.
don't want to do the amendment?
It's too late.
We're
We're
in the
on a
middle of a
roll.
roll call. You can do
Yeah,
that.
it's too late. I lost it.
Oh, she just started.
Joanne.
Yes.
Mr. Marshall.
No.
Mrs. Matos.
No.
Mrs. Wolf.
Yes.
Mrs. Dean.
No, because I want to wait for a new board to be consistent.
Mrs. Ennie.
I got it in.
Yes. Mrs. Cow.
Yes.
Mrs. Rosenwald.
Yes.
Mr. Lalonsky.
No. And the answer is?
Passes.
It passed.
Okay.
So now we have to do it tonight.
No, it's first reading. It doesn't happen
For
until
reading.
adoption on second. Got to come up for another.
First reading, he said.
It's first reading. We have to have another reading.
Yeah, it was the first reading.
So it'll be on our next agenda for second reading and adoption.
It's not gonna happen.
The first reading it did. Yeah.
So I would amend policy 0161 to reflect that meetings will end at 11 p.m. I'll give you the amendment and I'll put it for second reading December 22nd and adoption.
Is that our next meeting, December
No,
22nd?
the next meeting isn't December 22nd.
Oh.
December 1st.
Let's make it 10 o'clock.
Oh, no.
Okay, let's let him in tonight.
Oh, yeah.
All right, he's in.
That agenda's going tomorrow.
Oh.
You want it on for December 1st?
We have a meeting December 1st.
Yes, we do.
Yes.
Yeah.
God, right before Thanksgiving, after Thanksgiving?
Hey, don't look at me.
Got it? Dr. Hart, you're that kind of guy.
10 o'clock.
Right kind of person, Dr. Hart. There you go.
Okay, very good.
I hired him too.
Anybody else? That was new business, we're up to, right? Anybody else new business?
We were here to do the right thing. Oh, new business.
Yes, ma'am.
You told me I always do
Jump.
it, so I
That's
have
right.
to do
Yep.
it.
Yes.
December 3rd, Marlboro Memorial Middle School, 8th grade. Fall concert, their last 8th grade fall concert.
Yep.
And 7 o'clock.
Well, since you're on that.
Since I'm on that, old business, I'm sorry. The play was wonderful. The kids did a fantastic job. I'm not sure. Not many of us were there.
I was
So
there.
thank you for coming and supporting.
I was there.
I know. I said thank you, and thank
But-
you to the
but-
public. And I have to tell you, the amount of people that came was
Was it amazing?
It was packed.
It was packed. Both nights were packed. And it was very well run. Everything just was great. Security was great. Children were great. It was really a great experience.
And how did the
Thank
star
you for
do?
the district. My little star? Well, he's always a star.
He was he was my favorite character.
I'm not allowed to say that.
My daughter is going to play the band too.
Oh.
For the
And the Royal Airs will be here too, so my little star will be here as well.
Very good.
But can we
Yeah.
just footnote to check the mics at that school because they could use some new mics?
I just got
Well, they need to fix their mics.
They
They
got
can
new
use these
mics?
mics because
These?
these are very good.
The ear mics, they got new ones?
Not every person had one, and you could only hear some of the people that were doing it, and like maybe the first five that were good, and nobody else you could hear.
So I was there when they got them packed. but-
Well, not that the mics didn't work. The 5 people that had them, the mics worked, but all the other kids, you couldn't hear them. There was a little girl that sang a whole song, and I couldn't hear her song.
Oh, no.
Look in the mics.
Well,
Check the mics.
Okay, there's definitely I will tell you, from my knowledge, there's definitely enough microphones in this district to put microphones in every child if that was designed that way.
Okay.
That's nice to know.
Yeah, he said they should have board meeting marbles.
Yeah, I have.
I'm for that.
I just noticed that I got the information that on December 4th, there will be a presentation in the Marlboro Middle School by Marlboro High School, the Chinese language students. they have 4 classes. They're going to provide a presentation about their classes. So just encourage people to go.
Thank you.
No, daytime. I don't know. I give the hours to
the students.
Yeah, Miss Klum. Maybe he can go.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else new business? No? Okay, that'll bring us to our final public session, open to any item. Any member from the public wish to address the board, you need your name and address on the microphone as well as the clipboard. Again, the 5-minute rule. Anybody from the public wish to address the board on any item?
Here, she's good. She's pretty good for all that.
Oh, yeah.
She's pretty great after all that. She's here this whole time.
I have. I think it was going to pass.
I just wanted to say, you asked, why did the...
Name and address, please.
Oh, Penny Van Dorn, 118 Nolan
I'm
Road.
sorry?
Penny Van Dorn, 118
Thank
Nolan
you.
Road. You asked why the public voted down. I will tell you, your literature was the first thing I heard about this, and it didn't answer any of my questions. I mean, as simple as the fact you get split kindergarten wasn't even explained. Because my question was, if you have kindergarten now, what's the difference if you extend the hours? And I thought about it for a second and went, oh, we'll probably split. But you didn't even keep that simple fact in there. So I wanted to send on all my observations I send it to someone so that you know what we saw on the outside reading it. Who do I address it to?
Just to
Board Secretary.
It's you? Okay. Yes. Okay, that's it, because I saw a lot, there were so many questions, and you did not hit 90% of it.
Yeah, I'll respond let's see if anybody else wants to speak first. I'll respond back, no problem.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else from the public wish to address the board on any item? Seeing none. So what I could say is that we did have 3 town hall nights, and I don't know if you were able to come to any of those, but we did answer any and all questions that came to us, and Dr. Hibbs made presentations at all of those as well.
We have them here.
And I know we could probably have done things better, and we're happy to hear any of your recommendations. No, I didn't say you had to be there. I just want to make sure the public knows.
But that's the first.
We're happy to answer all your questions when you send your thing. All right, thank you, ma'am. All right, I will read the executive session resolution. Be resolved in accordance with the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act, the Marlborough Township Board of Education shall conduct a closed executive session pursuant to personnel legal exceptions provided by NJSA 10:4-12 for the purpose of discussion on school safety and security, personnel matters, and matters of attorney-client privilege. It is anticipated later this session will be 60 minutes, and action will not be taken in public at the executive session. Be further resolved that the minutes of the executive session will be released from the need for confidentiality in accordance with NJSA 10:4-12 no longer applies. And that's seconded by Craig. All those in favor? Aye. Against? Yep. I will make a motion to move to executive session, seconded by Debbie. All those in favor? Aye. Anybody against? No, we're moved to executive session. Thank you, everybody, for coming out tonight.